there's a more perfect song to talk about or to sing before we begin a report of a mission work, because when we went to Costa Rica, that was our goal, to tell people all about the soul-saving message of Christ. Costa Rica, this is our third time that we went to Costa Rica. I'm going to move this because if not, I'm going to place it somewhere else. This is our third time to go to Costa Rica, and Lisa has done this PowerPoint. If I did it, it would not look this nice. And so, but she has put all these things together for us this evening. Our mission, as we find in Mark 16:15, is always to go and preach the gospel, right? That's the whole purpose of all of it. I remember years ago when, and this may be on a slide later, that we came back from a mission trip that was like 3 weeks long. And this is somewhere else. And a person came up to me and said, "How was your vacation?" You've never been on mission work, have you? But anyway, a mission trip is just that. It is not a trip for vacation. It is not a trip to lounge around. We were busy, as we'll see later, from breakfast, from after breakfast till almost bedtime practically. We were doing something. Spreading the gospel near and far. As you see on the right, you can see some of the houses and things. This is, I believe this might have been Canyas, the first place we were at. But you can see from all the houses, there's gates. Everything's a gate. In Mexico, a lot of times, there's fences and things. You don't actually knock on someone's door. You actually yell good morning to them. Hola, or upe, however you want to say it, whichever one, which I say it wrong, it's upe. But anyway, and you shout to them to see if they'll come out and talk to you. There's no door knocking. You just shout out through a gate. Can you imagine doing that here? Going to somebody's house and just yelling? But that's what we did in Costa Rica, and we do in Mexico. And other places I've been has been similar as well. We aren't there to take tradition rather than the Bible. This is something Brother Wayne was real big on, is that when we go there, we're not trying to make them do things our way. We're not trying to make them to conform to how we do things here. We're there to help them. We're not there to try to change the way they do things. Of course, we recognize everything's to be done according to the Bible, but how they carry it out, that's all up to them, right? We're not there to take tradition rather than the Bible. We're not there to make the congregation dependent rather than supporting. That is, we want them to keep doing what they're doing. We don't want them to become dependent upon us or upon any kind of financial support. We're not there to control the congregation rather than being co-workers and brothers and sisters in Christ. The last place we were at was in San Jose de Upala, which we'll show on the map later. And one of the brothers there made the point several times that the way that we were working with them was different than from a group that had come and visited them years ago from a quote-unquote Christian college. He said, "You're actually working with us. You're not trying to just come in and take things over," which was something I really didn't expect to hear, but apparently those kinds of things do happen. We weren't there to make decisions that exclude local brethren. We weren't there to disrespect cultural differences and not tried to understand. We're not there to export the latest craze from the U.S. or to have a condescending attitude rather than a we are brethren mentality. Wherever you go, people do things differently. Whether you're talking about going to Costa Rica or Mexico or the islands, or if you're talking about going to Nebraska where Brother Schaefer's at, people do things differently. That's not wrong, that's not bad, so long as what we're taking out to when we go out and we're visiting people is the gospel. How we do things is not nearly as important as what we are teaching and what we are preaching. Costa Rica is a nation, as Lisa put on here for us here, ready for the gospel. It really was. It was a very fertile place when it comes to spiritually speaking. And you have there the capital being San Jose, the official language being Spanish. The population in 2026 was estimated being just over 5 million. The currency is the Costa Rican colone, is how you pronounce that. It was quite a bit higher, the exchange rate. It was 455 colones to $1, which you think, well, that sounds pretty good. Until you look at some of the prices on the Denny's menu, you realize you're about to pay $20 for $30 for a burger. When we land in San Jose, which is very touristy. When we get to Tiburon, it's much, much different. You can have an entire breakfast for about $4. But when you land in San Jose, because of time, we end up having a dinner there, and it's by far the most expensive meal, and it's vastly overrated for Denny's. But anyway, the time zone is Mountain Time. The religion is 72% Christianity, and we have it broken down there to different groups, mainly Catholic, which is not uncommon in a lot of places that we have been. So we land in San Jose. which is actually south of Teleron. We actually drive up to Teleron, but these are the 3 places that we are working at. We work in Cañas, which is the bottom left first, and then we work in Teleron, which is there just to the northeast. And then we drive up, and that's San Jose. Is not the San Jose we land at. That is San Jose de Upala. Just to the right of that circle right in there is Upala, where we actually work at. There's about 20 miles from the border of Nicaragua. We wanted to cross over, but it had rained so badly we couldn't get to cross over just to say we've been to that other country. And so the roads must have been not very well if it can be rained out. But those are the 3 places that we worked at. We would our hotel for the first, well, for the majority of the trip was in Teleron, and so we would drive to Cañas and drive back to Teleron for a week. And then we went to San Jose de Upala up there in the north. We drove up there, had a different hotel, turned out to be a much nicer one. The one in Teleron, it wasn't much bigger than like an office cubicle, and ours had 2 beds in it, which means you're not moving very much. But anyway, so it was a different hotel, and we worked with them from a Friday through a Sunday, and then that next Monday we drove all the way back to San Jose for the airport, and then we would leave the next morning. You can see Teleron, Lisa circled volcanoes. There are several volcanoes. When we drove from Teleron to Upala, you could see 3. And every morning when we were in Upala, on the way to the church building, there was always a volcano you could see just to the left of us. And so I tried to take some pictures of it, and I'll post some later probably on the website or something. I took over 400 photos, so this is not 400 photos long. But there are 3 volcanoes we could see at different times throughout the trip. One of them was active back in the 60s. And so, here's some more. There's San Jose, and there's 3 more there you can see. And so, if you took a picture every time you saw something interesting, your phone would be filled in a day. But here's our team. I believe this actually has everybody in it. We have people there from the U.S., obviously, and then we have several who were translating from Mexico. You have Wayne Brewer there on the far right. Next to Wayne is Willie. He translated most of our lessons. Once he left, he left about, 5 days before everybody else. He had other things he had to do. But majority of the time, he translated for all the men while they were preaching, and then after he left, Wayne took over the translating for that. But that is all the team there. You have all their names there again. If you want to look at this closer later, we can pull this up again later. But you can see myself in the back, Chloe on the far left, and Lisa just in front of me as well. This is our daily schedule, which looking at it, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a full day. We would get up and we'd leave the hotel about 7:15 and go have breakfast somewhere. Again, about a $4 breakfast per person is what it worked out to be. We'd come back, we'd have a devotional at the church building, we'd have singing, prayers, a devotional, we'd talk about what we're going to do that day, where we're going to go. And then we go out door knocking, that's what they called it. We were door knocking and passing out flyers there. You can see one of the flyers there, you can see Chuck's tract on baptism was translated into Spanish. I think you have some of those out here as well. And so we would door knock for 2.5 hours, come back for lunch. And then after lunch, we'd have a children's Bible school, which would be about an hour and a half long. Also, during that time, we'd have any Bible studies we had set up, we'd have during that time. But what would happen, this was what I would call a skeleton schedule because things change all the time. For instance, if you have a Bible study during the door knocking, you could come back to lunch just whenever you were done, or if you could make it back for lunch. And so there were a lot of times guys were studying with someone, and they'd come back halfway through lunch because they didn't, they were out doing that. And so it wasn't just door knocking, it was personal Bible studies at different times. Sometimes we'd have a sit-down Bible study with someone. Sometimes we would talk to someone, and the translator would say, okay, they want to hear something. They want to hear something from the Bible. And that's how they would word it, okay? And so we start talking about, start talking about the church, what we're here to do, give people a chance to hear the gospel, and we start talking about some things about salvation, where they go, if they go somewhere, if they don't go somewhere, things such as that. Sometimes it would lead us to a sit-down Bible study. Sometimes we would just stand there. I know one brother told me he stood there for like an hour and a half talking to somebody. And so we'll have some numbers here later, but not all those things really reflect everything that was accomplished. So we'd have the children's Bible school after lunch, personal Bible studies, then we go back to the hotel. From hotel to gospel meeting, I remember one day we got back to the hotel, I got cleaned up, I sat down, and Lisa said, "You gotta leave in 10 minutes. Okay. And so there wasn't much of a break. And we go to the gospel meeting, they'd have children's classes as well, and we get back to the hotel 9 o'clock, 9:30. And we did that the entire time. It got to the point that we were going up to Paula on for the last place we were working at, and Wayne's is a very diligent man, very hard worker. He said, "I think we need to schedule a rest day somewhere in here." And he doesn't, kind of surprised me because, I mean, everybody was tired, but I said, "I won't complain." He said, "But here's the thing." He said, "We stay in Tilleron, we'll be doing Bible studies in Tilleron." Yeah. He said, "We go to Canyas, we'll be doing Bible studies in Canyas." Yeah. And so what do? You just keep going, right? You can't really stop because there is no real break in there. Totals, I said before, is 82 Bible studies. I read the wrong line. We had 39 Bible studies. You had 89 Bible classes, 8 devotionals, 14 lessons over 3 gospel meetings, during 3 gospel meetings, 39 Bible studies, and there were 42 contacts that were left. Keep in mind, this is 3 different congregations in a period of about 2 weeks. And I tell people, I was like, man, what if we could accomplish half that here in that same amount of time? It'd be impressive, wouldn't it? And I tell people all the time, and I did it in a lesson, and I think I shocked Wayne. He wasn't translating, he was recording, but I said, we're so spoiled in the U.S., we think many times we don't need God, and so it's hard to get people to sit down and talk about the Bible, right? I remember we were walking up, we were door knocking, as you see here, well, of course you can see me, and then our translator, and Lisa, I think, may have been behind me or in front of me, somebody else is there, and our little boy there with us. This is one of those occasions where the guy said, can you just tell me something about the Bible? Okay. But we were talking there with him, and most of the neighborhoods looked very similar to this. And you had those who were made of concrete and fences. You had those that, at one point, I was being very American, and I thought, man, my phone's about to die. And I look up at the house we're about to walk up to, it's made out of plywood and tin, and I felt about that big. I thought, okay, I need to stop. Because we, here in the States and other places as well, not just here in the States, are very spoiled. We saw people who were, when we say don't have much, we mean they don't have much. But for people who don't have much, and not everybody's like this. Obviously, I don't want to make it sound like everybody there has nothing. But for folks for somebody who didn't have much, they were very giving people, very generous, and some of the most kind people that we ever met, to be honest. Costa Rica is one of those places that, as Lisa said, when the first time we went over there, she just fell in love with it. Because the people there are so interested and interested for one, but also so kind. We're talking about those who are in the church or even outside the church, very friendly people in general who we came in contact with. This is at Canyas, which is a province there of, I can't pronounce that word, but anyway, Canyas there in Costa Rica. This is the first place that we went to. You can see the open windows there. There is no air conditioning in the church building. Thankfully, it wasn't as hot as it was this afternoon. But you walk in and they will have some fans on the walls. It's open air. There's more windows that are open. Up around the roof line, there's nothing. It's open air. So there's some like chicken wire there so air can get in, and that's it. And so I will tell you that nobody wore a suit jacket when they preached. And when Wayne said ties are optional, I went, because in 85 degrees inside, no air moving, I'm not wearing a tie. And so that's what I did, and others are doing that as well, because it was pretty humid even inside the building. Here in the front, just in front of me in the blue shirt, the bald gentleman, that is Brother Herman. He is the preacher there in Canyas. And he is a tremendous guy, great worker. Everybody we worked with were tremendous workers, and so a lot of ladies there would, if they weren't out door knocking with us, they would be preparing the meals. The way it worked, we would send funds ahead of time, and they would use that to purchase items so they could prepare lunch and dinner for us. So that all we had to do when we got there is take care of breakfast. So we had lunch and dinner at the congregations there. And so after we would door knock, we'd come back, have it there in the building. In the evening, we'd come back and we would have the meal before the gospel meeting it's just like you're sitting here. It's concrete floor. We would have tables set up, we'd eat, and then they'd pull up the tables, put up the chairs, put them in rows, and they'd go back to being the auditorium. And that's how they did it for that entire period. This is door knocking in Cañas. Obviously, you can see Chloe there on the left, Lisa and me on the right, and some Chloe again there on the bottom. This is after Bible school class in Cañas. The theme was running the race from Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 2. I'm there teaching the youth class. That's Wayne translating for me. And Lisa's in some of the ones up there teaching her classes as well. The building we're in, you notice the metal building there. That was the hottest building I think I've ever taught a class in. It was a distribution center. So what they did, they rented it out, which is interesting, and they'd roll up the doors, and there was no windows in that place. And so we'd go in, and you just feel the heat, and you taught your class for an hour. And I can tell you, it was probably one of the most uncomfortable times I had. And everybody there was the same way. It was just hot, but you did what you had to do. And so that's what they did. And that's the second year, I think, that we were there in that same place. Gospel meeting and evening Bible classes there in Cañas. And that's me and Willie there wearing his tie, translating for me. This is the congregation there in Tilleron. Again, you can see all the windows in the buildings and things such as that. And again, they too have sliding bars in front of their doors and everything as well. This was the second location that we were at. Their church building was actually walking distance from the hotel. The hotel there in Tilleron is in a great location for what we're doing. This is door knocking in Tilleron. You can see it's still quite a bit, some would call it jungle, not yes and no. You would see, when you went door knocking, you could see anything. You could see sloths, you could see monkeys. To be honest, I've seen so many sloths now, I'm like, okay, because I've seen so many of them. But monkeys and things are usually the stuff that we're looking for, though we did not see any toucans as much as we tried to see them. But one brother did tell me later they fly through his property, but I didn't get to go see that. This is the baptism we had there in Tilleron. This is Levi there in the purple. He's holding his feet down while they baptize him so his feet doesn't come up when he's doing. And that is Brother Salo there, the preacher in Tilleron. He's the brother who, there's not a picture up here, who had a picture of him holding up a giant iguana. And I'll share this at some point online. And I said, do you guys really eat that? Yeah. You want to try? Okay. He got so excited. And part of me thought, uh-oh. But anyway, he went and told his mom, who he said she's the one who cooks it. And on Thursday night there in Tilleron, we had iguana. And as men, I don't have a picture of it. They had a couple nights before tamales wrapped in banana leaves, big green banana leaves. So when I walked in the kitchen, they said, come here. I knew I was going to find. I thought, man, I'm going to have some big iguana like just spread out and like, what is it going to look like? Well, no. It was just the iguana meat inside the banana leaves. It was quite good. It was just a fluke that we got sick the next day. But anyway, it really wasn't. It really wasn't from that. It sounds bad. But anyway, afternoon Bible school in Tilleron. They rented out a gymnasium. Again, just open air windows around the top. I don't think there were even fans in there at all. But anyway, that's me there in the top left. That is, I forgot his name. Remember his name? I don't remember his name. Anyway, translating for me. I'm going to remember this as soon as it's over. He's one of the young men there. He was a member there at Tilleron. He now went off to school, but he translated for me during that Bible class. Lisa's there in the bottom, and Giovanna's translated for her, as you can see there in the top right. Ladies' Bible class. The theme was, again, running the race with patience. And this is Lisa there teaching her class. This is standing there is Kay. She's one of our team members. She was taking some pictures during the class. But she taught several ladies' classes while we were there. Personal Bible studies. We had one. We had several. These are just two when we were there in Tilleron. We had one with Cecilia, who's there in the bottom right, and then one with John there on the top left. John was very interested. To be honest, we really thought he might have been ready to be baptized. Just didn't happen. The other individual we're not sure about, but it's the second year that we have actually been there and studied with her, and so we're hopeful that sometime in the future she will do what is needed. San Jose, Upala, de Upala. Again, this is the northern congregation we were at. A beautiful place. It was funny because I've never been there. This is the third time, and in the first 2 years we didn't go up there. And the preacher from that congregation asked Wayne, he said, "Why aren't you guys coming up there anymore? Coming up there?" So Wayne said, "Okay, we'll go." And so I asked him, I said, "Okay, what is this place like?" He said, "Well, it's more jungly." I should have asked define jungle because it really wasn't. I was expecting like, I don't know, rainforest jungle or something. It really wasn't that bad. But everybody told us there's bigger bugs, it's more humid. It was just as hot and just as humid as anywhere else. The bugs were all the same size. But it was a beautiful place. It was, in many ways, probably the most beautiful of the three that we were at. We did see what I think was an anteater one night crossing the road. I didn't get a picture of it. We were driving, but saw, I think this is where they saw howler monkeys. I wasn't there. When I got there that Friday night, one of the members said, "Hey, we have a Bible study set up. We want you to do it tomorrow." Okay. So when they went out to door knocking, I didn't get to go, so I didn't get to see anything that was out there. But one group did see howler monkeys, and they said you could hear them from like a quarter mile away just yelling and hollering. So it's always interesting when you go out and do the door knocking. This congregation, one of the brethren there who I met on the first trip, his name is Juan, and he'll probably be in a picture here somewhere. For whatever reason, him and I just clicked, which is kind of funny because I don't speak Spanish. But for whatever reason, with translated things, we got to talk and we kind of got to be pretty good pals. And this last trip, I was a little bit better, enough to not confuse him quite as much, and he understood a little bit more about what I was saying. But this is where he attends. This is his, we might say, home congregation. So he is very excited to have us there. Yes, this is some more pictures of Lisa teaching there, Chloe there helping, and the little girl on the top right is the little girl that Lisa nicknamed. I had it in my head now. Senorita Bonita, something like that. I got it right. Yeah, that's not her name. I can't remember her real name, but she just gave her the name. But she was just a doll. She was hanging around with us a lot of times there in the evening, and so just again one of the children's classes that was going on. Even the gospel meeting, that's me teaching, and that is, I want to say Hector Herman. I got to say I'm wrong. I'm terrible with names. Anyway, but he was, usually it's Willie or Wayne translating. Wayne said, "Hey, do you want to translate for Russ?" He said, "Okay." And it was excellent. Anytime if I moved to the side of the pulpit, he did the same thing. If I hit it, he did the same thing. And so it was like two of us up there. It was a nightmare for some people, but anyway, it was very good, very encouraging. He lives in San Jose near Upala, and so this is kind of his home congregation. He was very glad to see us that we were there. What did we eat? If you're wondering, Chloe is eating iguana in the top right. You can't see it. She had made homemade tortillas, of course, and so that's what we ate the iguana in. The bottom left is your typical breakfast when you go out to eat. Rice and beans, eggs. The yellow on the left is actually queso. It's cheese. You can get it fried, as they say. It's not really fried. That cheese does not melt. It's not like queso at Jose Peppers. Anyway, and then their idea of Chinese there in the bottom right one night as well. And so there was a big variety of things. They had something different every night. Rice was at most meals, and so I think Brendan asked me if I want to go get Mexican when I got back, like first thing. I said, "No, I'm good." This is Teleron. This is the hotel we stayed at. As you can see, it's a little tight. This wasn't our room, but they all look the same. There's nothing large about those hotel rooms. And hot water, you just hope it's there. And we actually had it. It just didn't last very long. These are the brethren some of the brethren from Costa Rica. You have Salo there on the top left with his wife. He's a brother who was so excited when I said I'll eat the Iguana. That's probably why he's smiling. That's Herman below there, the preacher from Canyas with his wife. This is Juan in the center, the man who I mentioned earlier from Upala. Him and I get along really well. And then some other brothers and sisters there as well. The sister wearing the apron, she is Salo's mother who cooked the iguana for us, and she was right there when I was eating it. And I thought, boy, I hope I don't make a funny face. But it was very good. Anyway, but they were just tremendous people to work with. Salo went all the way from he was in Canyas, I think, every day. He went up to Upala every day to help them. Juan was at every place as well. Herman was in Teleron. I don't remember if he came to Upala or not. And so they were just working together all the time. And it's they've been doing it for years. It's just the third year that we have been able to be a part of it. What did we see? Well, of course, we saw a lot of things. This is a Brahma cow on the right. They have a big hump. Kind of defines them and their big ears. The bottom left is an iguana. I probably ate his cousin. Then we have the sloth. A gentleman in our group, so we get to Teleron, and Salo says, hey, there's a big group of sloths over here. Okay, so we go there, and they're hanging from a tree. It's kind of there's a steep embankment, and they're up on the tree to the top. And so one of the guys decided, okay, I'm going to climb up there and get a picture. So he gets like from me to TV to this sloth. And all of a sudden, the third one falls down and takes a swipe at him. And everybody's pretty much, okay, it's time to go. And so that's why he got that picture, but he almost paid a price for it. So yeah, just all kinds of wildlife that you would see. The Costa Rican flag. This is, I forget the name of the tree. Lisa told me this before and I forgot. But beautiful, beautiful wildlife, beautiful plants everywhere. Like I said, I took over 400 photos. I don't know how many videos I took. When we were leaving and finally coming back to the airport on Monday, we had to go up through some mountains, and Wayne and I always rode with Wayne. I don't know why. He drives very well in Costa Rica. He drives like he lives there, which is kind of terrifying. And so he said, no, we're going to go up in the mountains in a little bit. We're going to drive through some, remember how we were going to drive through some low cloud cover. Okay, so I pulled out my phone and we get closer, and sure enough, we start driving into the clouds. And we keep going and we keep going. And what's amazing was there's so many people up there. Houses everywhere, farms everywhere. We stopped at some random restaurant high in the mountains in the clouds, take a break for a moment while we were going up there, different things. It was, like I said, if we videoed everything, took a picture of everything, you wouldn't have space for it all. We do want to thank you for supporting this endeavor. It was tremendous. It was great, greatly encouraging. A lot of good work done. I remember last year when we came back, from the time we got back to the time we got ready to go again, really this year, I kept getting updates from different individuals from there in Costa Rica, friends with Brother Salo on Facebook and a few others. They would talk about some of the things that were going on with some of the contacts that we had left with them. And so it's encouraging to see that when we go over there, it's not like the work stops. It just keeps going. They take the contacts that we give them, they take the Bible studies that we are a part of, and they continue on. And then we go back to next year, what we find is so many of them are there that we have contacts for. Those who we studied with are now visiting. And so it's very, very encouraging, and we do thank you very much for your endeavors. Again, Lisa and Chloe were a very big part of it. It wasn't just something that I did, they were a very big part of it. Lisa spoke more than I did, to be honest. I had 3 Bible classes and 3 sermons and some Bible studies. She had a lot more teaching than I did. She sat in on the Bible studies with me and was a tremendous help. I remember at one point afterwards I thought, maybe this is what Aquila and Priscilla felt like when they were doing Bible studies with their wife and helping someone learn the gospel, right? Not the same, obviously, but you kind of get the idea. That's, you see why they want to do those kind of things. And so it's very, very encouraging, to say the least. And so we're very thankful for everything that you have done for us to make that possible. If you have any questions, you can feel free to ask me later. I'll answer them to the best of my ability. Our lesson for about 10 minutes. And if I go over 10 minutes, don't worry, JT will buy everybody ice cream. I put on Facebook the other day about how this lesson was going to be on faith. And I said I was going to return just briefly for like an 80s theme topic for this. And if you look at Hebrews chapter 10, in verse 38 and 39, I think online it says it's going to be about faith. It's really about keeping the faith, so I didn't give a complete idea of it. But Hebrews chapter 10, verses 38 and 39, the Bible says, "Now the just shall live by faith, but if any man draw back, my soul shall have no pleasure in him. But we are not of them who draw back unto perdition, but of them that believe to the saving of the soul." I found that so very encouraging, because you look at verse 38 says, "The just shall live by faith. If anyone draws back," he says, "God will not be pleased in him," right? My soul shall have no pleasure in them. But notice how he words this in verse 39. "But we are not of them who draw back unto perdition." He says, we're not the kind of people who draw back. We're not the kind of people who quit. We're not the kind of people who give up. We get tired and quit. Everybody gets tired. Whether you're talking about work in Costa Rica, or you're talking about church camp for 3 weeks, everybody gets tired. But we cannot be those who draw back, as he says here in Hebrews 10, 38, 39, which is why I titled this, "Don't Stop Believing." Because we have to keep our faith in God, right? We have to keep our faith in God. We have to keep believing in his word. You know, we think about that idea of don't stop believing. I know it's a cheesy Journey song, but the idea is biblical, isn't it? We cannot stop believing in God. We cannot stop keeping our faith in him and putting our faith in him every single day. We think about this evening. We must be those who keep our faith in God. Sometimes we put our faith in government or in politicians or mommy, daddy, whoever it may be. We have to keep our faith in God, don't we? Faith must remain firmly rooted in the promises that God has made in his word. This life will bring all sorts of trials and disappointments, but none of those things should change who God is to us, right? None of those things should change. We should trust God even when we cannot or do not see the outcome, right? Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6 tells us, "Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths." Don't stop believing and keeping your faith in God. God makes promises, he always keeps them. You know, we find throughout the Bible that God has made numerous promises, and we find numerous prophecies being given in the Old Testament. We find them being fulfilled in the New. We find Christ making promises in the New as well, right? He tells us in the book of John, he goes to prepare a place for us. That's a promise. God keeps his promises. We must hold on to our confidence. I should say 36, not 26. But Hebrews 10, 35 and 36 says, "Cast not away therefore your confidence, which hath great recompense of reward. For ye have need of patience, that after ye have done the will of God, ye might receive the promise." What is he telling us? Don't cast away your hope of having heaven as your home. Don't give up on it. We get worn down in life. Sometimes it seems like we forget the God who we serve. We forget how powerful he is, right? Isaiah 59 verse 1 reminds us that God's hand is not short that it cannot save us, right? God is able to do whatever we need to have done in our life. He is there to answer our prayers and guide us through the darkest and the deepest of times. Faith is measured by whether we continue trusting the Lord unto the end. It's easy to be a Christian when the weather is nice in the spiritual sense, right? When the storms of life haven't started or they've gone calm, hey, that's easy to be a Christian then. But what about when everything starts falling apart? That's when we really show God who we are, don't we? Or we show God who we're not. It's easy to be a Christian on Sunday, but it's much different on Monday. We should bring others to the faith, my final point. Keeping the faith is not only about preserving our own relationship with God, it is about helping others come to know Christ. You know, we think about things like Costa Rica or Bible camp or gospel meetings or lectureships. What's the whole purpose of all those things? It's not just so someone can get up and present a lesson. That someone might hear the gospel the very first time. It's so that someone might obey the words of Christ, right? You know, we look throughout the Bible, we find in Luke that Christ tells us he's come to seek and to save that which was lost. It means that is the whole point of him coming to the earth and dying on the cross, that he can save mankind. Christ wasn't there to make friends, was he? No, quite the opposite, right? He wasn't there to deliberately make people upset, but the truth did that, right? In fact, Christ defines what a true friend is, a true friend of his is in John 14:15 when he says, if you love me, you'll keep my commandments, right? We find throughout the Bible that the Christian must be one who is willing and able to go out and teach others. We're not meaning we have to go out and door knock every single day, but sometimes it means having a conversation and allowing it to proceed to a biblical topic, right? We shouldn't be afraid to talk about Bible things. There were times over the years when someone would ask me a question, and I'd be like, okay, well, you're not going to like this, but and I'd tell them whatever the Bible answer was, whatever their question may have been. Now, I remember in Fiji, a brother there brought someone up after my Bible class, and I'm 6'1", and I was looking up like this. He was probably he's taller than Adam. He was a big guy. And he came up to me and said, are you telling me I can't live with my girlfriend? And I said, well, the Bible says marriage is honorable among all and the bed undefiled. But fornicators and adulterers God will judge. Because that literally was in my lesson that night. And the brother who brought him up to me was kind of smiling. I looked at him later. I said, thanks for that warning, by the way. But anyway, but what do? We tell people the truth. We have to tell everybody what the truth is. No matter where we are, no matter the situation, we have to do that because it's what brings others to the faith. Matthew 28:19 and 20. Here Christ tells us that every Christian has a responsibility to teach others, right? Matthew 28:19 and 20. Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost, teaching them to observe all things, whatsoever I have commanded you, right? Do what? Go and teach the gospel. The Great Commission was not given to a select few. It was given to every Christian who walks the earth. The gospel is God's power to save. Romans 1:16, Paul says, I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it's the power of God unto salvation, right? It is the power of God. When we were over there in Costa Rica, and we've done similar things here, I know, in the past, and we're willing to do them in the future as well. When we talk to people, one of the things I open with when I talk to them about why we're there, whatever it is they want to talk about, I said, we're only here to give you a chance to hear the gospel. What you do with it is up to you. There was a song they sang over in Costa Rica. I can't think of the actual name of it, but it had in there the words of what, and I'm paraphrasing, but it had in there the phrase that we teach, we sow, but it's up to them to respond. I'm butchering it. That's not what they say, but that's what the message was. That it's up to them to respond. What do? We sow, we sow, we sow, right? And so Romans 1:16, what do we sow? We sow the gospel. Our faith should motivate us to invite people to worship, to Bible classes, to study the Bible with others, to encourage those who are struggling, and to look for opportunities to teach the lost. There's always chances and opportunities to teach the lost. The writer of Hebrews reminds us in Hebrews chapter 10, verse 39, when he says, but we are not of them who draw back into perdition. We cannot be those who stop doing what we're supposed to be doing. I remember one of the first times I was in the lectureship over at 39th Street and surrounded by a bunch of preachers who've been preaching longer than I've been alive, and they were talking about different things, and I was just sitting down at the table, and Brother Williams asked me about some things, how things were going where we were at, and we were just talking. And one of the things he said when we were finishing up, he said, keep on keeping on. What does that mean? Don't stop. Keep teaching, keep preaching, and keep on doing what we're supposed to be doing. Right? That's what Hebrews 10:39 is telling us. We are not of them who draw back unto perdition. A faithful Christian will keep his faith in God through every trial and bring others to the faith through the teaching of the gospel. That's what faithful Christians do. We have to recognize we don't have to be perfect in how we teach the gospel. I don't mean we leave things out. I mean, we may stumble. We may think, okay, I need to talk about this, or I forget what this verse is, whatever the case may be. There was plenty of those times when I was talking with someone, I was looking up a verse, and I said, just give me a second. I'm trying to find the verse for us to look at. That's not wrong. Sometimes we put a very high pressure on ourselves to be flawless in our presentation of things. All we have to do is preach the truth and teach the truth, whether it be public or private. You know, Paul tells us as we close here this evening in 2 Timothy chapter 4, verses 7 and 8, he says, I have fought a good fight. I have finished my course. I have kept the faith. What is he saying he has done? He has kept the faith. He's done that which is pleasing in the sight of God. He's not given up. He says, henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day, and not to me only, but unto all them also that love his appearing. What is he saying? He's saying, I'm not the only one who gets to receive the crown. Others do too. But we have to keep the faith. We're going to do that. We have to keep trusting God. We have to keep sharing the gospel. We have to keep the faith. Because, friends, if we give up, it's like the runner who stops before the finish line. You don't get a prize. You don't even get a finisher's medal. You get nothing. Why would we want to serve God all these years and go through all the things we go through just to give up in the end? It sounds pretty sad. So let's be those who keep the faith and never stop believing in the power of the gospel. This evening we can help you anyway. You can come forward now. So here we stand and sing the song that's been selected.
I keep